Hello everyone, my name's Malcolm Pein. I'm the Chief Executive of Chess in Schools and Communities, which runs the London Chess Classic and has been the sort of the umbrella organisation for this, I think the 7th edition of the London Chess Conference, as it says on those posters there. So I'm going to start off by saying something that you don't say it very often at a gathering, at a chess tournament. And that is that it's really nice to see so many men in the room. And John's asked me to formally welcome everyone to the 7th London Chess Conference, which is staged alongside the London Chess Classic. Now, I've obviously also got to do the votes of thanks, and I'm always told you shouldn't try to thank people when you give a speech because you're always going to miss somebody out, but I'll do my best. Obviously, we have to thank FIDE for supporting this conference, and I'm delighted to see here Mr. Sumbat Laputian, the head of the FIDE Chess in Schools Commission, because I think, John, it's fair to say this is the first time that this conference has been a cooperative effort between FIDE, the ECU, the English Chess Federation, and Chess in Schools and Communities. So we're really pleased to have you here, Sumbat. Thank you very much for attending. I'd also like to thank all the donors who regularly give money to, obviously, our charity, Chess in Schools and Communities, because without them, Chess in Schools and Communities wouldn't be able to financially support this conference and keep it associated with the London Chess Classic. And it's quite appropriate that this first conference on the theme of chess and female empowerment is associated with the London Chess Classic, because this, as far as I know, was the first tournament that decided that women should enter free. It was also the first tournament where, because I remember thinking about it, that we needed to have at least 50% of the arbiters as being female, which was just one sort of imbalance I thought that at least that was within my power to try and adjust. The bigger imbalances, of course, we're going to try and look at this weekend. Now, because I might not get another chance to do this because I have other responsibilities over the weekend, I also want to just give an enormous amount of thanks, and I hope that we'll show our appreciation to John Foley and Stefan Loeffler and their team, who've all worked incredibly hard and will continue to work incredibly hard to make sure that everyone gets the most out of this weekend. So John and Stefan, wherever you are, thank you very much. I'd also actually like to thank my colleague at Chess in Schools and Communities, Chris Fegan, for coming up with the theme of this gathering. Now, I think some of you might not know Chris. He's my colleague at CSC, he's the Chief Operating Officer. And he volunteered, when we finally managed to get the post established, to become the Director of Women's Chess for the ECF, for the English Chess Federation. And you can imagine that Chris took quite a lot of flack for taking on that job, for one pretty obvious reason. But nevertheless, he's managed to achieve an awful lot since he started and begun to modernise the attitudes of the ECF and get some policy change. And he's going to set out his ideas at this conference. And that also gives me the opportunity to say I'm really pleased to see so many people, my colleagues at the ECF board here as well. I'm really delighted to see them. And while, of course, this conference isn't just focused on the gender imbalance in English chess, I think since I have this opportunity and this platform, I'd like to make it clear to everyone here, particularly from around the world, that the gender imbalance in chess in the UK is particularly bad relative to other countries. And in fact, it's quite often the case that if you go into a chess tournament or a chess club, you don't see any women. And this was brought home to me particularly clearly when it would have been about, it would be 2015, when the charity had a wonderful association with Barclaycard, and one of the high-up executives in Barclaycard, which is a big English credit card company for those of you from around the world who may not be familiar with it, came and she looked around and she said, "It's a brilliant tournament, this, absolutely fantastic, but where are the women?" I didn't have anything to say to her other than, that's the state of the game. And for that reason, we're all gathered here today to try and find solutions. So this actual dire situation in the UK was one of the drivers for me to set up the charity. And one of the things that the charity does, and I think this is something that it is being replicated in a lot of countries. I know we've got our colleagues here from Skoleskak in Denmark who do incredible work. And that is to start at the very, very beginning. What Chess in Schools and Communities does is we teach chess in the classroom. And what that means is that the number of girls and the number of boys learning how to play the game in our program is equal. And since the charity was started about 10 years ago, we've taught 100,000 girls how to play chess. And that work needs to continue. It needs to be replicated all over the world, and more power to everyone who tries to do that. Now, there'll be many ideas put forward here today by people much smarter than me and with far greater insights. But I would just say that for all the people here from chess federations, I think that we need to create what David Smurden, who is not here, unfortunately, because he lives in Australia, he couldn't make it, but he's done some very good research, calls targeted female infrastructure for the post-junior scholastic years. And we have to make every effort to try and nurture and protect the female players that we actually have now. Because it's entirely clear to me that what we need to do is actually ensure that the chess world is a safe place for them. Because from the experiences of many women and girls that have been related to me, the chess world is not safe for girls and women as it stands. It's completely clear to me. It's something I will admit that, for the first 30, 40 years of my life, I'm blissfully unaware of it. But now that I've been involved with the charity and talking to a lot more people and learning a lot more, I can see that it isn't. And that's something that I'm sure we'll be focusing on today. The book I'm reading at the moment, by the way, is this. It's called Invisible Women, Exposing Data Bias in a World Designed for Men. I haven't got very far with it, but I've started to read it. And to be fair, it's only recently been published. And one of the key issues that's highlighted in this book is that data isn't even collected on the experience of women, and nobody actually thinks how policy change will affect them. Perhaps the most striking thing in this book, just diverge away from chess and go to cars for a second, is that women are more likely to get hurt in a car accident because cars are designed for men. Which actually, that had never occurred to me. I read that, I was just, actually my jaw dropped, but that's just the reality. And the author is Caroline Criado. She spells it out. She says, when we're designing a world that is meant to work for everyone, we need women in the room. Well, we've got some here, haven't we, today? So it's good to see that people in the chess world are starting to gather data. I know, I think Alice O'Gorman from Ireland has done a big survey. She'll be on soon here. There's been excellent research, as I said, by David Smurden. Also, my colleague Sandy Ruxton from CSC has done some interesting research on gender in our schools program, which I think he'll present here later. So my message to all of you delegates today is, now that we've actually got some data, let's gather some more, let's combine it with our experience and our vision, and at this weekend, come up with solutions. And I hope you're successful in that this weekend. Thank you very much.
Hello? No. Hello? Okay, I can stand here, that's fine. Hello, everyone. My name is Jesper. I'm the chairman of Ecu Education. I'm one of those that support this conference. And for me personally, this is a highlight of the year because it's this time of the year when I meet all of you and I get new inspiration, new ideas, and I'm looking forward to speak to you all when possible during the breaks and so on if we don't meet during the conference. 2 years ago, I became in charge of a project in Sweden about equality. Because in Sweden, we have 48% girls in our Chess in Schools movement. But above 20 years old, we have 3% women. And I became in charge of making something about this and try to make these girls in Chess in Schools to proceed into the chess family beyond teenagers and so on. When I had this on my table, I felt a little bit unsure if this was right for me. I mean, I'm a middle-aged man, and just like with John and with Malcolm, it feels a bit strange to be here opening this conference in this way. But when I started to call the women of our federation, when I started to call the teachers, the female teachers, I realized, yes, we are the ones that should do this. Because they said, if you, men, that has got some kind of power, if you show that this is important for us, that we want to have a change, that we want you women and you girls to be part of the chess family, then we can really make a change. So for me, I hope that all you men in this room feel the same, that we need to be part of this movement to help so a change can be made. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, so welcome everybody to London, to what I think is the biggest of our 7 conferences so far, and of course the best. And the topic is the most important, probably. I'm pleased to say that almost exactly 50% of you who registered are female and 50% are male. I think you should treat this event as an opportunity to get to know each other, to exchange ideas, learn best practice. I think, networking is very important, and we can only give you a flavour of some of the topics that there are. So you'll notice it's a very intense experience, and you're only just beginning to discuss a topic in one of the workshops, and then suddenly it's all over. But I think it does enough to stimulate people's thinking, and this is really what we're trying to do. We're not a formal congress like at FIDE or the European Chess Union. This is a much more informal and ideas-rich environment here in London. What people say is that they get a bit of cognitive overload because of the parallel sessions going on. So you just have to choose, really. You just have to choose what is more important to you out of 2 very important things. This is the essence of, chess. There's 2 good moves, but you still have to choose one of them. Analyze all the variations. You'll figure it out. We've got quite a good culture program on this time. I'll mention it now. So this evening at 7:15 and again at 9:15, we have a film called Fahim, which is a recent French film, and I think you can read about it in our media. But it is recommended, and it's free to attend. It's in the Lyric Theatre, which is, you can actually see it from this building. It's just on Lyric Square in King Street in Hammersmith. Tomorrow afternoon, here at lunchtime, we have an excerpt from a new documentary. It's in post-production at the moment. That is coming from Georgia. It's about 4 Georgian grandmasters, women, world champions. What's special about you all is that you all have a commitment to a cause. And I think that it's a unique opportunity for you all to get together. The most important thing is that you should enjoy yourself here in London. Do try and make it back for the various workshops on time, but around and about in Hammersmith, there's plenty of places to have a coffee or a sandwich or whatever.